You're not going to devalue your way into a huge stock market boom. And David Malpass, again, I know you're on a tight schedule, so I want to get as much out of you as I possibly can. One thing I did not like today, Treasury rates fell across the board by 15 basis points or so. That means Treasuries are rallying again. That means the risk aversion play is back again. Plus, to Vince's point, does a weak dollar put a tax on consumers? Because food prices are going up, and oil and energy and gasoline and home heating prices are going up, and the inflation rate is going up. So is that the kind of sacrifice? Because that means the Bernanke model is wrong. I mean, it's just wrong.
Right, and so I think the Treasury yields going down is not a positive sign at all. It means that there's X amount of money that's betting on a recession, or excuse me, a depression for the United States. The rates are so low. So you've got this combined thing. What money you can't get out of the country, you put into riskless Treasury assets, and you take your currency hit. And that's just not a pretty mix. Now, I want to say a positive note here. This is all changeable. Remember when Greenspan said his irrational exuberance speech, it was just two words in a speech, and the dollar changed direction on a dime. And that's consistent with history. When presidents want to change the direction, if President Bush says he wants the dollar stronger, I have no doubt at all that the dollar will strengthen a lot.
President Reagan said that. Now, how about Robert Rubin, who was Clinton's Treasury man? And once in a while, Rubin came in to show traders it was a two-sided market. He backed up the dollar, David. I mean, we're not a helpless sleeping giant here. We can take care of our currency if we make the right statements and take a couple of actions or two, can we not?
Right, and we're doing the opposite. Remember, in the G7, we're stopping them from trying to do anything to help the dollar.
They want to come in. I've seen these press releases, Trichet and the G7. They want to help the dollar more than we want to help the dollar. Now, what the heck kind of policy is that?
And so for the currency markets, they can't be short the dollar if the U.S. wanted the dollar stronger. The problem has been, as long as they use the phrase strong dollars in our national interest while the dollar is plummeting, it's code word for further weakness.
Jim Awad, our policymakers are operating against the best interests of the U.S. stock market and the economy and the inflation rate. Yeah, no, that's what I'm hearing here, and I think that is really dumb.
Yeah, I agree, and just let me redeem myself here. Yeah. I was not endorsing a weaker dollar. I was simply saying, you know, one of the positive aspects was that it does stimulate exports, and for people who are looking to buy here, it's a little bit cheaper. I was not endorsing it. It's an awful situation. I'm having trouble understanding what they can do or say. See, I'm not sure I believe that George Bush has enough credibility in the world today. I'm not saying that politically. I'm just saying people look at the facts, that we are running the deficits federally and trade, that everybody knows we've got the financial paper problem. Everybody knows you can't solve it overnight. I just wonder if they say they want a strong dollar or say it more specifically,
hey, Jim,
whether the financial flows are ignored.
I know you're not speaking politically, but Henry Paulson has incredible credibility around the world. Yes. Paulson gets on the phone, calls the other G7, because it's not in their interest to have a declining dollar, and say, guys, it's time. We're going to come out for a strong dollar policy, and we're going to pool, and we're going to come in and buy everything we can. Destroy the shorts, stabilize the currency, and the G7 will go along.
I got to get Jerry Bowyer. Jerry Bowyer's been very silent, very quiet. That is my fault for not getting Jerry. And Jerry, I want you to weigh in on this, because we're at the point in the conversation now. What can be done, and what is to be done, and are we helpless before this dollar weakness?
We're not helpless. A weak dollar doesn't help exports and hurt imports. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had the trade deficit that we saw earlier this week, because a weak dollar is inflationary. So people don't want to buy American goods in an inflationary environment because the price of the goods is going up. You can do things about it. The Fed certainly can, by signaling that they're not going to lower much more. And the Treasury Department and the President certainly can, but they haven't done it because they haven't wanted to. This is their way of dealing with protectionist sentiment in Congress. They think if you keep the dollar weak, Congress won't go for really hardcore protectionism. And so they say, we're for a strong dollar policy, wink, wink, we don't really mean it. We're not really going to do anything about it. And it doesn't help us with the trade deficit anyway.
Farrell, you agree with that? That's an interesting point. He's saying they're deliberately trying to help producers at the expense of consumers, that it is a form of currency protectionism.
Yeah, I guess so. But, Larry, what I really worry about, Jerry's more fit to comment on this, I think an awful lot of people in Washington are economic illiterates.
Really?
And they go with the wind, and they just don't know what to do.
I'm shocked.
I'm shocked.
Uncle Vinny, you're right there. They're employing old-fangled solutions to newfangled problems.
Larry?
Actually, we need an old-fangled solution, a strong dollar. Abraham Lincoln said every time a currency fluctuates in value, it's harmful. We need an old solution, not a new solution.
Jerry, stop raising interest rates and let the recession run its course.
There is no recession, and if there was a recession, pouring money at it wouldn't make any difference anyway, so they should be signaling raising or at least no more loosening.
Dave Malpass, did you want to say something on the way out?
I agreed with everything Jerry said except about the need for the interest rate to get dragged into it. I think it's separable from the dollar policy. I think they can literally cut interest rates next week, which they're likely to do, and separately say they would like the dollar to strengthen, and both of them would be beneficial.
Jerry, is that feasible? Is that practical? Would that fly in the face of dropping rates, falling dollar? Do you think that could act? That's an interesting trick, and it's an interesting pivot. Can you do that? Could the Fed be cutting rates and the Treasury jawboning the dollar higher, Jerry?
Not in the long run. I mean, in the long run, it's a matter of how many euros are being printed and how many dollars. In the short run, sure, you can cut rates and still, not have the dollar fall every time you do it. You can jawbone it short run. We don't have enough reserves to fight an inflationary Fed. In the long run, the Fed has to be on board. The Treasury can't do it by itself.
I agree with that.
Dougie Cass, do you have a particular stock market thought for us, an investment thought?
I have to be very careful because Uncle Vinny Farrell's granddaughter, Lola Jane, and my honorary niece, is watching. She's very impressionable, and when I talk Ursine stuff, she gets scared. She's under a year old. But she probably knows more about the market today than we do collectively. I think you have to be very cautious. I think we're stuck in the middle right now, and I am very much a market agnostic. It's a scary time for bulls and a scary time for bears.
I've been watching
it's good to have above-average cash
stuff.
positions.
He's an agnostic, and he's done it right.
Jim Awad, is this a scary time in your judgment?
We'll get through it. I mean, we've been through periods like this before. It's too early to become wildly bullish, too late to become wildly bearish, but we'll look back on this as just another test that we passed.
All right, Dave Malpass, thank you. Jim Awad, Dougie Cass, thanks to all of you. Vince Farrell, Jerry Bowyer have a lot more work to do. Coming up.